I'm Jay Neff, trainer at Santa Anita and a trainer for the California Thoroughbred Racing Club and Cutter Neff Racing Stable. This is my colleague Ray Bell. He's a trainer at Santa Anita also. And we are going to discuss the 2024 prospects for the Kentucky Derby. So Ray, the 2024 Kentucky Derby. You cannot talk about the Kentucky Derby without talking about Bob Baffert. Bob Baffert is just a cornerstone of racing at Santa Anita. Mm-hmm. He's got so many good horses. He's won a lot of derbies. He's won a couple of Triple Crowns. We can't leave him out of the mix. So let's talk a little bit about the Derby prospects in his barn. Now we know that Churchill Downs is not going to let him run this year.
Correct. Yeah.
Next year he'll be able to, but this year he can't. So those horses, before they can get any points, they have to go to another trainer.
That's right. They'll be transferred to somebody else before February 15th or something.
Oh, I didn't realize there's a deadline. Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, I think. And last year, of course, he went to Tim Yaktine, a good friend of both of ours. Another significant factor in Santa Anita racing. So, and Tim was Bob's assistant.
Yeah, that's right. He worked for Charlie and he worked for Tim.
I didn't know he worked for Charlie Whittingham.
Yeah, he went from from Bob to Charlie back to Bob.
Oh, did he?
Mm-hmm.
Well, those are pretty good credentials.
Absolutely.
So he's got to change those horses over in February to another trainer so he can get the points. Let's talk a little bit about the point system. I have my own thoughts on that, and they're not good. But what are your thoughts on the point system for the Kentucky Derby?
What do you mean as far as the credence they hold, and as far as...
Do you think they're good for the race?
Well, in the fact that they're putting a limit of runners in the Derby, there has to be some sort of criteria to get them involved. Or this day and age, there'd be like England, there'd be 32 runners, But of course, on a little mile racetrack, they can only accommodate. I think 20 is too many. I think they should limit it to what the starting gate holds. And well, the starting gate holds 20 now, but 14 horses would be more than enough, in my opinion, to make it a more fairly run race and a more honestly run race. 20 is just too much on it. If it was at Belmont Park, going 1.25 miles around one turn, which they used to have,
yeah,
a little bit different story. But it's so you not only have to be really good, you have to be really lucky too.
So, as a trainer, what do you think of the? How does the big field, the 20-horse field, how do you think it affects the strategy of the race?
Well, it does. If you talk to a jockey, the first thing they talk about is, I want to get out of the gate and get a good position. Now, some horses, they just don't have that early speed, and they have to sort of lag back. A horse like Ferdinand, for instance, he took back on...
Mind That Bird.
Mind That Bird, yeah.
Rich Strike.
Mm-hmm. We had a horse called Rumbo around in the Derby in 1980. And he came by the stands the first time, he was dead last. And not only dead last, but they were walking the first part of it. Went 24, 48, 112, and he's dead last. Made up quite a bit of ground to be second to, which would be the trivia question, who was Rumbo second to?
Oh, God. What year was it?
1980 was the filly, Genuine Risk.
Oh, God, yeah. Leroy Jolly's horse.
That's right, yeah.
Who rode that filly?
Who rode the filly that won?
Genuine Risk.
Vasquez. Jacinto Vasquez.
And he rode another great filly.
Well, he rode the other filly that got hurt, Ruffian.
Ruffian. How many horses were in the field when you ran Rumbo?
Yeah, I was just going to say 13. They didn't need to have any sort of restrictions involved. But now it's come to the fact that it's not if you think you have a legitimate chance of winning, a fair chance of winning, it's can I get in? It's if I can get in the race, I'm going to run. That's the sort of mentality that most, not necessarily trainers have, but owners.
Owners. Now, but even back in the day, what year was that? 1980 that you ran?
That was that horse was 1980. Yeah.
No, but even
I
then,
was just a young kid then.
what were you, 16?
Well, I can remember I was driving, so it was.
But even back then, there was a system of exclusion based on earnings.
I think it was, yeah, based on earnings in stake races.
Earnings in stakes races.
Yeah.
It seems to me that the point system, the way it's set up, you have the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Traditionally, that is the early favorite for the Kentucky Derby, year after year after year, and yet it's only like what, 20 points?
It doesn't offer you nearly as many points as like the Santa Anita Derby, the Arkansas Derby, or
Santa Anita Derby. All the late races, Santa Anita Derby last weekend of or first weekend of April, the Bluegrass Stakes, Arkansas Derby,
Florida Derby,
Florida Derby, the Wood Memorial.
I think the Wood Memorial has been downgraded. Actually, it may not even be a Grade 1 anymore. I'm not sure.
But all those late races they're 100 points.
Yeah.
And so basically what Churchill Downs is saying is they want the winners of those races. So in effect, the way I see it, it's an invitational race.
Yeah. I see what you mean.
There are, I think there's 13 or 14 races with 100 points. Every one of those winners is going to be in.
Yeah.
And the second place horses in all those races are 50 points. So they're all going to be in. So how do you think, or do you think, that trainers are playing that game, that points game, efficiently?
Well, it depends. I think if you've established yourself as having enough points, you can structure your sequence of races much more to accommodate the horse himself. A lot of times these guys are rushing into this race and rushing into that race simply to get the points to be eligible to run in the Derby. But when you can say, well, I've got enough points, I only want to run once or twice before the Derby, which is kind of commonplace now, it's getting to be more and more commonplace, more lightly run horses, then you can kind of gauge your training after how the individual horse, what he needs and wants.
Well, I don't think that the early races where you're getting, 20, 30, 50 points are very relevant because, like I said, every one of those horses that wins some of those 100-point races is in.
They're in.
So if you just wait, keep your horse fresh, and
well, that's
have the confidence.
What happens if they stumble at the start, and you've got the Kentucky future book favorite? You only want to run one time in the Arkansas Derby. He stumbles and loses the jockey out of the gate. Well, you're
but if you pick up a 20 or 30 point race and then you finish, because remember the first 4 finishers get some points.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but again, if he throws the jockey, he's not going to get any points. What I'm saying. So if something happens, the horse stumbles or the jockey falls off and you don't get any points, you're kind of stuck.
Well, Ray, thank you so much. It's a pleasure having you here this evening.
You're very welcome.
And
I was very much entertained.
We'll have a couple of other of our colleagues here in the future, and we will further discuss the prospects for the 2024 Kentucky Derby.
Sounds like a good plan.
Well, I've had horses in the Belmont and the Kentucky Derby, Santa Anita Derby, but I was more nervous before this race than I've ever been before in my life. I tell you, it means that much. It means that much to the
It's meant a lot to your family over the years.
Oh, yeah, indeed it does.
Ray, this is awesome. Congratulations.
How many more do I have to get to match Whittingham?
You got a hill to climb.
Only need 10 more.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Ray, can I get a photo?
Why not?
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. Way to go, Ray. Hey, thanks so much. You got it.
Congratulations, Ray.
That thing is, AC's run well.
Yeah, super.
Ray. Ray. What's that? So Shoemaker was right? Yeah, I was telling Ed, you know, he said, will he get the distance? I said, just like Shoe said, you know, he'll get the distance, just takes the question of how long it'll take.
Yeah. Ray, don't you think it's kind of neat running this as the last race on the day?
Well, I do. They've carded like 5 races prior to that. That was my only concern. The turf might be chewed up, but I think it's good. I think it's all right.
Jesus.
He's showing more kick down the field.
Yeah, he did. But the others weren't that wet.
No, they were all running because they went so slow.
Yeah, they